Hi. If you're hearing this, I didn't pick up. Either I'm busy, asleep, or I saw your name and decided peace was more important. Either way, leave a message if it matters. If it doesn't, well, you probably wouldn't have called anyway.
Hello. Hi. It's me, Loki. I know this number probably doesn't work anymore. Or maybe it does, and it just rings into silence now. Either way, I figured I'd leave this here, just in case the universe still checks its messages. Do you remember the days when the world was small enough to fit inside a patch of soil? Back when dirt under the nails was just a given? Before it meant you'd been working or hiding something. When it simply meant you'd been playing. Back then, we didn't call it childhood. We just called it afternoon. We'd spend hours in that shed behind the house. You remember the one? Crooked door. Smell like old grass and rusted tools. Our knees powdered with dust. Fingers digging trenches in the ground that meant nothing to anyone but us. The sun would drag itself across the sky and we wouldn't notice. Time didn't move back then. It hovered, patiently waiting for us to finish whatever game we had invented that day. Sometimes I played dad. You played mom. We'd pass each other imaginary dinners made of pebbles and leaves, pretending they were important enough to argue about. And every now and then, we'd get caught feeding each other something ridiculous. Unripe fruits plucked from the neighbor's yard. Mud pies that tasted like freedom. Whatever mischief our hands could assemble. Then the adults would march us to the sink and wash our mouths out for what we ate. Funny education when you think about it. Learning that even the earth could be wrong if you swallowed it the wrong way. The adults would yell. We'd laugh. Because trouble was light back then. It floated right off the shoulders. Childhood has a strange habit, though. It evaporates quietly. No one announces the last time you'll play in the dirt. It just happens. Then one day, I don't know when exactly, the games stopped feeling like games. Not wrong, just embarrassing. Our conversations shrank. The afternoons got shorter. New kids showed up on the block. And suddenly the old shed, our headquarters, our tiny kingdom, belonged to them. I don't remember giving it up. It just stopped being ours. Maybe we let them have it. Easier than admitting we'd outgrown something we weren't ready to outgrow. The clothes changed. Less colorful. More careful. I think yours changed first. Then the way you walked. The way you stood. Suddenly we were aware of ourselves in ways we never used to be. The easy laughter turned into pauses. Our conversations grew edges. Every time we saw each other, something invisible stood between us. Like a pane of glass we both pretended not to notice. And the way people looked at you changed. I remember the jeers. Those strange men leaning against fences, calling things out when you walked past. The air would get heavier. I heard those whistles too. They weren't for me. They were for whoever you were becoming. Someone I didn't have a map for yet. Overnight, the neighborhood decided you were a woman now. A title handed to you long before you understood the price of carrying it. You'd pass by, and I'd try to find you in there somewhere, behind the new posture, beneath the quiet that grew between us like weeds. You still looked like the same kid to me, but the world had already moved you into a different category. Eventually, the updates stopped coming from you directly. Life started speaking through screens instead. Stories posted late at night. Little fragments of a life happening somewhere else. Then you left for college. When you came back, the first thing I noticed was that the quiet girl I grew up with had disappeared. You weren't shy anymore. You had ink on your skin now. Little black declarations etched into places I didn't remember being blank. Your body carried a different shape. Your voice had changed its rhythm. Your hair was longer too. But your eyes, those were the most unfamiliar part. They held stories I hadn't been around to witness. And one evening I watched you exhale a cloud for the first time. The smoke curling upward, like a second language you'd learned without me. You had transformed. I saw you arguing with your mom in the street once, loud enough for the neighbors to pretend not to listen. Someone told me you punched a man who stared too long. And I remember thinking, was that always in you? Or did the world chisel you into someone who could? I never figured it out, but I never stopped noticing you. Whenever we crossed paths, you'd nod, just a small acknowledgement, like we both understood something without needing to say it. You never lingered long enough for conversation, though. Sometimes I wondered why. Maybe you knew I still remembered the version of you from before, the one with the soiled hands and mischief in her eyes. Maybe you didn't want to disturb that memory, or maybe you didn't want to erase it. Then one day you left it again. For a while, I didn't see you at all, and you came back even more different. This time, there was a child beside you. You were a mom for real now. Except, I wasn't dad. And something in the way you looked at me had shifted again. Like you thought I was keeping score. There was a guardedness there, as if you believed I was quietly tallying your choices against some invisible standard of you I'd saved in my head. I wasn't. But silence has a way of letting people write their own conclusions. Life started leaning on you harder after that. I heard about habits that crept in slowly, the kind that begin as coping and end as gravity. For a while you lost your mom title. The whispers around the block grew sharper, the kind that follow you into rooms and settle in corners. And the same people who once ignored you suddenly had plenty to say. The neighborhood is good at that. Judgment travels fast here. Then came the rain. Low clouds, wet concrete, the kind of day that smells like endings. That's the day you wrote your final chapter. They said you overdosed. Was it on emotion or a lack of? I don't know. But the way people told the story always felt wrong to me. Too clean, too clinical, like pain could be summarized in a sentence. When they found you, there was a photo album beside you, open to a page where two pictures faced each other, like mirrors. On one side, your daughter. On the other, you. Years ago, sitting in the mud with scraped knees, and that crooked smile you used to wear. And somewhere in the background of that photo was me, still playing dad. I've thought about that moment more times than I can count, because there were so many things I never said. I wish I had told you that your changes never scared me. Only your silence did. I wish I had told you that the girl with stained hands and fearless laughter was still in there somewhere, no matter how the world tried to rewrite her. That she never truly left. You just wore her differently. I wish I had told you that I still saw her, even through the smoke, the ink and the sharp edges you grew to survive, that you didn't need to fight so hard to be understood. Some of us understood you from the beginning, before you had to become someone just to survive being someone. I wish I had told you that the shed still exists in my mind exactly the way it was. Sunlight slipping through the wooden boards, dust floating in the air, waiting for us to come home. I would have sat with you there again, in the dirt, not fixing anything, not asking questions, silent if I had to, so the weight didn't belong only to you. I wish I had told you that you were allowed to be tired, allowed to be messy, allowed to be human, without having to earn permission from anyone. But I didn't say any of it. And now those words have nowhere to go except here, drifting through this voicemail like ghosts, conversations that arrive too late, questions without answers, like the childhood game we abandoned halfway through. And now, the only place we still meet is in the dirt. Anyway, I should probably hang up. I hope you know that. I never stopped remembering you. I hope you know that. I loved you.